ॐ शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानामेकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमा कोमलहस्ताब्ज संभावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। वेट्रिवेल् मुरुगनुक्कु हर हरो हरा। लोकवीर्यं महापूज्यं सर्वरक्षाकरं विभुं पार्वती हृदयानन्दं शास्तारं प्रणमाम्यहं। स्वामिये शरणमय्यप्पा। वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्तप्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्रीपार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचर गुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं हनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीः भट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाबात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। कैरण्डुं कुपीन्यान् बिन्दुमीरकुन्नु नीरजलोचना निन्नोढायि इतीनु मन्यने कुम्बीरेन्दातोरु रीतियल नियन्ने पालिक्यन्नाय। कृष्ण हरे जय कृष्ण हरे जय कृष्ण हरे जय कृष्ण हरे। Good evening everyone. Okay, we'll get started. So just in the interest of time, we'll do 24. I'll just split it across two people. So Soumya, you want to do the first half, maybe the first 5 stanzas, and then Gopiji, can you do the remaining 5?
Okay. Prahlada Charitra Varnam. Hiranyakshe Potri Pravarapusha Deva Bhavata हते शोकक्रोधग्लपितदितिरेतस्य सहजः हिरण्यप्रारम्भः कशिपुः अमरारातिसदसि प्रतिज्ञामातेने तव किल वधार्तं मधुरिपो विधातारं घोरं स खलु तपसि त्वानचिरतः पुरः साक्षात् कुर्वन् सुरनरमृगाद्यैरनिधनं वरं लब्ध्वा दृप्तो जगदिह भवन्नायकमिदं परिक्षुन्दनिन्द्रा दहरत दिवं त्वामगणयन् निहन्तुं त्वां भूयः तव पदमवाप्तस्य च रिपोः बहिर्दृष्टेरन्तर्दरितहृदये सूक्ष्मवपुषा नदनुच्चैः तत्र व्यापि खलु तत्राप्यखिल भवन्नान्ते च मृगयन् भियायातं मत्वा स खलु जितकाशीन् ववृते
third line, so third line, tatrapyakhila bhuvanante.
नदनुच्चैः तत्राप्यखिल भुवनान्ते च मृगयन् तत्तोऽस्य प्रह्लादः समजनिसुतो गर्भवसतौ मुनेर्वीणापाणेः अधिगत भवद्भक्तिमहिमा स वै जात्या दैत्यः शिशुरपि समेत्यैरतिं गतस्तद्वाद् भक्तानां वरद परमोदाहरणतां.
Third line, small correction, shishurapi, and then there is a pause. Okay, so shishurapi sametya tvai ratim.
Okay. सुरारीणां हास्यं तव चरणदास्यं निजसुते सह दृष्ट्वा दुष्टात्मा गुरुभिरशिशिक्ष चिरममुं गुरुप्रोक्तं चासौ इदमिदमभद्राय दृढमित्यपाकुर्वन् सर्वं तव चरणभक्त्यैव बवृदे.
Very good. Gopiji, you want to continue?
Yeah. अधीतेषु श्रेष्ठं किमिति परिपृष्टे धतनये भवद्भक्तिं वर्यामभिगतति पर्यालकुलधृतिः गुरुभ्यो रोषित्वा सहजमतिरस्येत्यभिविदन् वधोपायानस्मिन् व्यतनुत भवत्पादशरणे.
Gopiji, just one small thing. Second line, last word, paryakula dhritihi. You said an extra la.
पर्याकुलधृतिः.
Yeah, that's it.
सशूलैराविद्धः सुबहु मथितो दिग्गजगणैः महासर्पैर्दष्टोभिः अनशन गराहारविदुतः गिरीन्द्रवक्षिप्तोऽपि अहः परमात्मन्यै विभो त्वयि न्यस्तात्मत्वात् किमपि न निबीडामभजत. ततः शङ्काविष्टः स पुनरतिदुष्टोऽस्य जनको गुरुक्त्वा तद्गेहे किल वरुणपाशैस्तमरुणत् गुरोश्च सान्निध्ये स पुनरनुगान् दैत्यतनयान् भवद्भक्तेस्मत्वं परमपि विज्ञानमशिषत्.
And the fourth line, first word, bhavat bhaktes tattvam.
भवद्भक्तेस्तत्त्वं परमपि विज्ञानमशिषत्. पिता शृण्वन् बाला प्रकरमखिलं त्वत्स्तुति परं रुषान्धः प्राहेणं कुलहतः कस्मे बलमिति बलं मे वैकुण्ठः तव जगतां चापि सबलं स एव त्रैलोक्यं सकलमिति धीरोऽयमगदीत्.
A third line, there's a cha, tava cha jagatam. Okay.
बलं मे वैकुण्ठः तव च जगतां चापि सबलम्. हरे क्वासो सकल जगदात्मा हरिरिति प्रभिन्दे स्म स्तम्भं चलितकरवालोदीति सुतः अतः पश्चाद्विष्णो न हि विदुतमीशोऽस्मि सहसा कृपात्मन् विश्वात्मन् पवनपुरवासिन् मृडय माम्.
So just the third line, nahi vaditum ishosmi.
न हि वदितुमीशोऽस्मि सहसा.
Yeah. Very good. Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Well done, both of you. I think we're now ready for 25 then with that. Okay, so let's see. I don't know who's showing up as iPad.
That's me, Rajesh. This is Deepa.
Deepa. Okay, all right, thanks. Okay, so we'll start. Purna, can you be a student?
Rajesh ji, today it's not possible for me.
Okay, no worries. Vaidehi, you can be a student. Okay. And Tulsi, you can be a student for the first half. Okay, and then we'll switch halfway.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we did the first stanza, so I'll just say one and then we'll start in the second. Stambhe ghattayato hiranyakashipoh karnau samachurnayan aghurna jagadanda kunda kuharo ghorastava bhudravaha shrutva kila daitya raja hridaye purvam kadhapya shrutam kampah kaschana sampapat chalitopyam bhoja bhurvishtarat. Stanza 2. Daitye dikshu visrishta chakshushi mahasamrambhini stambhata sambhutam namrgatmakam namanujakaram vapusthe vibho kim bhishanameta vyudbhranta chitte sure vispurjadhavalograroma vikasat vashmasama jrumbhatha. So we saw in the first stanza, right, how Hiranyakashipu strikes the pillar and then Purvam Katapya Shrutam. So he hears a noise which he has not heard before. So it first starts with the noise. That's the first noise he hears. So when Hiranyakashipu is going around the previous 24th chapter, right, where he's asking, where is this Hari of yours? So Prahlada then says he's anywhere, he could be everywhere, right? So Hiranyakashipu ends up picking one random pillar. So it is very important that at the time, the Lord has to be ready because Prahlada himself has said he is there everywhere. So on the Sametla, when Hiranyakashipu strikes it, to prove his devotee right, the Lord comes out of the pillar. So when he comes out of the pillar, then first thing Hiranyakashipu thinks is, how is this whatever that has come out? How is it coming out of the pillar? That is the first surprise he has, right? Because he didn't expect something to come out of the pillar from his own palace. That is the first thing. Second thing is he's looking at the form of the Lord. So here Bhattacharya says, Te Vapuhu, the form of yours is na mrigatmakam. It is not that of a beast or an animal. Na manujakaram. It is not that of a human either. So when Hiranyakashipu sees is, what is this half man, half lion? That's the second surprise he has, which is now coming out of this pillar and standing in front of me. And then when this creature or whatever has come out starts growing up in size, so he's experiencing two things. One of them is he's terrified, right? Bhishanam, because it's the form of this is very scary, so he's getting terrified. Second, adbhutam, he's also getting surprised and is wondering is that I have never seen such a thing before. So what is this unique thing that I'm actually seeing in front of me? Appadina Hiranyakashipu is beginning to wonder, and as he's wondering, you are beginning to grow in size such that with dhavala. Dhavala means white color. Roma, so the hair that is on your face is white color hair, which are long white color hairs. So that's what Bhattacharya says here. And then of course he's going to have a couple of more stanzas where he's going to describe the form itself, but that's what is happening in stanza 2. So Daitye Dikshu Visrishta Chakshushi, comma, Maha Samrambhini, comma. So here we're going to have a couple of places we're going to pause just so that you understand as you're chanting what it is, right? So Maha Samrambhini, comma, Stambataha is there, put a is and put a plus there. So Stambata Sambhutam, it's coming out of the pillar, right? Stambata Sambhutam, so put a comma after that. Na Mrigatmakam, put another pause there, comma. Na Manujakaram, comma, Vapuste Vibho. Daitye Dikshu Visrishta Chakshushi, Mahasamrambhini, Stambhata Sambhutam, Namrigatmakam, Namanujakaram, Vapuste Vibho.
Daitye Dikshu Visrishta Chakshushi, Mahasamrambhini, Stambatas Sambhutam Namrigatmakam, Namanujakaram, Vapuste Vibho.
But again, the second line, sorry, Sambhutam also, there's a pause after that, okay?
Oh, Sambhutam also, okay.
Yeah. Stambata Sambhutam.
Okay. Daitye Dikshu Visrishta Chakshushi, Mahasamrambhini, Stambhas Sambhutam, Namrigatmakam, Namanujakaram, Vapuste Vibho.
Daitye Dikshu Visrushta Chakshushi Mahasamrambhini Stambata Sambhutam Namrugatmakam Namanujakaram Vapuste Vibho. Daitye Dikshu Visrushta Chakshushi Mahasamrambhini Stambata Sambhutam Namrugatmakam Namanujakaram Vapuste Vibho.
Kim Bhishanam Etat Adbhutamiti. So you can break it into those 3 words. You can, because you can recognize those words. Kim Bhishanam Etat Adbhutamiti, comma, Vyudbhranta Chitte Sure, comma. And the next whole line is continuous. So Vispurjad Dhavalogra Roma Vikasat Varshma Samajrumbhataha. Kim Bhishanameta Vyudbhranta Chitte Sure Vispurjad Dhavalogra Roma Vikasat Varshma Samajrumbhataha.
Kim Bhushanameta Vyudbhranta Chitte Sure Vispurjittavalogra Roma Vikasat Varshma Samajrumbhataha.
Why the third line Bhishanam? I think you said Bhushanam. Kim Bhishanam.
Kim Bhishanam. Okay. Kim Bhishanameta Vyudbhranta Chitte Sure Vispurjittavalogra Roma Vikasat Varshma Samajrumbhataha.
Kim Bhishanameta Vyudbhranta Chitte Sure Vispurjittavalogra Roma Vikasat Varshma Samajrumbhataha. Kim Bhishanameta Adbhutamiti Vyudbhranta Chitte Sure Vispurjittavalogra Roma Vikasat Varshma Samajrumbhataha.
This one you can feel free to say it like slowly in small pieces. Okay, so don't worry about that. Some of these things will be a little hard. So stanza 3. Tapta Swarna Savarna Ghurna Dadirukshaksham Satake Sara Protkampa Pranikumbitam Bharamaho Jiyatta Vedam Vapuhu Vyapta Mahadari Sakamukham Khadgogravalgan maha jihva nirgama drishyamana sumaha damstrayugo damaram. So now in most, like when you think of like Krishna, when you think of the Lord Krishna when he's born, there's only so much you can describe. You can say, okay, he was a small baby, he was dark bluish in color, he had curly hair. There are a couple of stanzas, you can't describe more. But Narasimha Avataram, there's so much to describe, right? So here Bhaktipat himself takes 2.5 stanzas to describe the form of the Lord, right? In Bhagavatam, it goes more and more. So here he first starts off and saying that the form that is actually standing in front of Hiranyakashipu, first he starts with the eyes. So he says the eyes are tapta swarna. So if you take gold and then you melt the gold, and then the gold is the molten gold is flowing, that yellow, bright, shining color. So that is the color of the eyes, and the eyes are large and it is in that color. And then he talks about, because it's a Narasimham, right? It's got the mane. So the face is big enough, and the mane, the hair that is actually coming out of the face, it is also long white, like he said earlier, dhavala. So it's long mane which is actually coming out of its face, and it's a very fearful face, of course. And then the mouth, mukham, is open as if it is like a large cave. So the entire mouth is open, right, as a big cave. So there is one place in near Vijayawada, right? The place is Mangalagiri, where they have something called as Panaka Narasimha. So if you go look at that, if you just Google that Panaka Narasimha and look at that Murti, right, statue of it, the mouth is actually completely open, right? So the face is there, and then the mouth is completely open, and then they put Panagam as the prasadam there that they offer to the Lord, and then the priest takes it in a conch, in a changa, and then he puts it, and then halfway, exactly half quantity of it, something goes through, you hear a gulp kind of noise that comes, and then everything else that he puts comes out. It only half goes in, the rest of the half actually comes out, right, from the mouth. So again, I'm just kind of saying that the mouth is kind of open, fierceful, open in mouth. And then of course, once the mouth is open, then that tongue, jihwa means a tongue. So the tongue is khadga means sword. So it's like, it's sharp like a sword. So the tongue is dangling outside, and the tongue is like a large sword. And of course, being a lion, it's got those large molars tooth in front of it, and those molar tooth are also long and in a frightening form. So here is Hiranyakashipu is here. He's looking at this, which is standing in front of him, which has got a very fierce eyes and a very fierce face. So tapta swarna savarna ghurna dhati rukshaksham, and then put a comma after rukshaksham, comma sata kesara, and then put a plus, protkampa prani kumbitam baramaho. So that word kind of comes together, kumbitam baramaho, comma jiyat tavedam. So it and then ata, jiyat tavedam vapuhu. Tapta swarna savarna ghurna radirukshaksham satake sara protkampa pranikumbitam baramaho jiyat tavedam vapuhu.
Taptasvarna savarna ghurna dati rukshaksham satakesara protkampha pranikumbitambaramaho jiyatavedam vapuhu. Taptasvarna savarna ghurna dati rukshaksham satakesara protkampha pranikumbitambaramaho jiyata vedam vapuhu.
Tapta swarna savarna ghurna dati rukshaksham satakesara protkampa pranikumbitambaramaho jiyata vedam vapuhu. Tapta swarna savarna ghurna dati rukshaksham satakesara protkampa pranikumbitambaramaho jiyata vedam vapuhu.
Vyata, vyapta. So first is a double ta, next is a ip and a ta. Vyata, vyapta, mahadari, sakha, mukham, comma, khadgogra, Valgan Maha, and then put a plus. And then say the next entire line is together. So there's between these two lines, the one only comma is after Mukham, right? And then the whole thing is together. So Kadgogra Valgan Maha Jihwa Nirgama Drishyamana Sumaha Damstra Yugo Dhamaram. So that word is together. You can't quite break it because it's Damstra Yuga Uddhamaram. So say it together. Damstra Yugo Dhamaram. Vyapta Mahadari Sakamukham Kadghogravalghan Maha Jehwa Nirgama Drishyamana Sumaha Damstra Yugo Dhamaram.
I'll try.
So if you want to take a breath, that's okay. If you're not.
Yeah. Vyapta Mahadari Sukamukam Kadgogravalgan Maha Jihva Nirgama Drishyamana Sumaha Dashtrayugo Dhamaram.
I think a small correction. First is third line, Sakamukam, not Sukha.
Sakamukam.
Sakamukam. And fourth line, Damstra, Im. Damstra you go. Yeah.
Damstra. Vyapta Mahadari Sakamukam Kadgogravalgan Maha Jihva Nirgama Drishyamana Sumaha Damstra Yugo Dhamaram.
Vyapta Mahadari Sakamukam Kadgogravalgan Maha Jihva Nirgama Drishyamana Sumaha Dramshta Yugo Dhamaram.
And Tulsi, that fourth line, Damstra. So Damsh, Damstra, Tra, Damstra.
Vyapta Mahadari Sakamukam Kadgogravalgan Maha Jihva Nirgama Drishyamana Sumaha Damshtra Yugo Dhamaram.
Stanza 4. Utsarpat Valibhanga Bhishanahanu Hrasvastaviyastaragrivam Pivaradoshatodghatanakha Kruram Shudurolbhanam Vyomholangi Ghana Ghanopamaghana Pradvana Nirdhavita Spardhalu Prakaram Namami Bhavatas Tannarasimham Vapuhu. But they were saying, Namami, I'm meditating, I'm bowing to that your form as Narasimha, right? So Bhavataha means you. He's talking to Guru Ayappan there. He's saying, I'm bowing to that form of you, which is in the form of Narasimha, right? That form which you took in the form of Narasimha, which again is continuing the description. So then he says the chin, right? So because it's a lion, right? So the lion face, so it's not like the human's chin, it is not like a normal, perfect, smoothly shaped and all that. He's saying this chin itself is looking ferocious because the skin is all curved and it is going up. So the chin is looking ferocious as well. The neck is also a stout neck, right? So even in the higher griva, right, when the form of the horse, right? So up to the neck, it is the face is also of a horse, even the neck is also that of a horse. So similarly here in the Narasimha form also, even the neck of yours is a stout neck, is a short and stout, unlike humans, right? So it's a lion's neck. And the most important is the nails that you have. The nails, like a lion, it's not claws, right? So these are long nails and they are emitting, it's so shining and so long that they are actually terrifying. And as if it are like, he talks about how it is like sharp rays, like lightning coming out of your hand. It's like sharp rays that are coming. But most important here is the noise that Narasimha was making to scare everybody. And I'll hold on a comment which I'll tell at the very end, at the 10th stanza it comes. So the roar it was giving out was terrifying the entire world. So that's what it says here is that ghana, that roar that you are doing is like trembling all through the clouds, and the entire world is getting scared as well. It's breaking through the clouds, essentially. That's what it says. So Utsarpat Vali Bhanga Bhishana Hanu. I think some books have Hanum. If you have a im, just remove that off. It's just Hanu and then put a comma. Utsarpat Valibhanga Bhishana Hanu Hrasva Staviyastara. So you can try to say it together if it's easy for you. Hrasva Staviyastara. Put a plus, Grivam, and then put a comma after that. So Grivam means neck. So the first is talking about the chin, comma, and then Hrasvasta Vyastara Grivam, comma. Pivara Doshatot Gata Naka Kruramshu Durol Banam. So I'll say it again. Pivara Doshatot Gata Naka Kruramshu Durol Banam. Utsarpat Valibhanga Bhishanahanu Hrasvastaviyastara Grivam Pivara Doshatot Gatanakha Kruramshu Durol Banam.
Utsarpat Valibhanga Bhishanahanu Hrasvasta Viyastara Grivam Pivara Doshatot Gatha Naka Kruramshu Durol Banam. Utsarpat Valibhanga Bhishanahanu Hrasvastaviyastara Grivam Pivara Doshatot Gatha Naka Kruramshu Durol Banam.
Utsarpatvali Banga Bhishana Hanu Hrasvastaviyastara Grivam Pivara Doshatodghatana Naka Kruramshu Durol Banam.
Yeah, I think you got it correct, but I think just a small, the way you can break it is Pivara Doshatot Gatha Naka Kruramshu Durol Banam.
Sure. Kruramshu Durol. Utsarpatvali Banga Bhishanahanu Hrasvastaviyastara Grivam Pivara Doshato Gata Naka Kruramshu Durol Banam.
Correct. Vyomol Langhi, and then comma. Ghana Ghano Pama Ghana Pradwana Nirdhavita, put a plus. So Ghana Ghanopama Ghana Pradwana Nirdhavita Spardhalu Prakaram, comma. So one comma after Vyomo Langi, next comma is after Spardhalu Prakaram, comma. Namami Bhavatas Tan Narasimham Vapuhu. Vyomolanghi Ghana Ghanopama Ghana Pradwana Nirdhavita Spardhalu Prakaram Namami Bhavatas Tannarasimham Vapuhu.
Vyomolangi Ghana Ghanopama Ghana Pradvana Nirdhavita Spardhalu Prakaram Namami Bhavatas Tannarasimham Vapuhu. Vyomolangi Ghana Ghanopama Ghana Pradvana Nirdhavita Spardhalu Prakaram Namami Bhavatas Tannarasimham Vapuhu.
Vyomollangi Ganopama Gana Pradvana Nirdhavita Spardhalu Prakaram Namami Bhavatastannarasimham Vapuhu. Vyomollangi Ganopama Gana Pradvana Nirdhavita Spardhalu Prakaram Namami Bhavatastannarasimham Vapuhu.
That's a fine. Nunam Vishnurayam Nihanyam Bhramyad Gada Bhishanam Daitendram Samupadravantamadrita Dorbhyam Pradubhyamamum Viro Nirgalitota khadga phalakau grinnan vichitra shraman vyavrinvan punarapapata bhuvana grasodyatam twamaho. So Hiranyakashipu, then he's beginning to think, right? So because Prahlada had said that Hari is the one who's going to protect, he's there everywhere. So he figures that, you know what, this is some ploy that this Vishnu has done to get rid of me. And then he's also confident that I'm not scared, although he's terrified, but he's also confident. So he says, you know what, I'm going to Nihanyam, I'm going to kill this person, whoever has come here in front of me. So with that confidence, what he does is he first takes his, with holding a sword, the Palgau. Khadga, Palga means a sword and a shield. So he's taking both of those and then he starts running. So here they are comparing and saying that just like how a firefly ends up, or a fly ends up flying into the fire, right? Thinking it can escape it, but eventually the fire ends up extinguishing it. Similarly, he is running into this form of you who's so big compared to him that when you run, then the Lord immediately with his stout hands is able to get hold of him. And then once he holds him, then just like how like a Garudan, right, catches a snake but lets it go, not with the intention that it cannot grab it, but just playfully. So Andamari, you first also let him escape initially so that he feels that he's strong. He's just explaining. So he's coming to attack the Lord right now, and he's putting all kinds of show, right, with his sword and shield and gadai and everything there. So Noonam Vishnurayam Nihanya Mumiti. Nihanyamumiti. So in and the im are coming there, comma, Brahmyat Gada Bhishanam, comma, Daityendram Samupadravantam. So that's one word, Samupadravantam Adritha. If you want to break it there. And then a comma after that. Samupadravantam Adritha, comma, Dorbhyam Pritubhyamamum. Noonam Vishnurayam Nihanyamumiti Brahmyad Gadha Bhishanam Daityendram Samupadravantam Adrita Dorbhyam Pritubhyamamum.
One question, Rajesh, is it Daityendram or Daityendram? The second line.
Daityendram.
Okay.
The meaning of that is Indra of Daityas, the king of the Asura. So Daityendram.
In some scripts, it's not. There is no sunna next to K. Daityendram.
Okay. Yeah, in is there. Yeah.
Rajesh.
Yeah.
Sorry. ஒரே ஒரு இது. இந்த சமுபாத்திரம் வந்தம் அந்த இடத்துல எப்படி பிரிக்கணும் ஒரு வாட்டி சொல்லுங்க.
Samupadravantam. அது வரைக்கும் it is one word. You can't quite break it. So Samupadravantam Adrita.
Okay. Thank you.
Noonam Vishnurayam Nihanyamumiti Brahmyat Gada Bhishanam Daityendram Samupadravantam Adrutha Dorbhyam Pritubhyamamum. Noonam Vishnurayam Nihanyamumiti Brahmyat Gadha Bhishanam Daityendram Samupadravantam Adrutha Dorbhyam Pritubhyamamum.
Noonam Vishnurayam Nihanyamumiti Brahmyat Gadha Bhishanam Daityendram Samupadravantam Madruda Dorbhyam Pritubhyamamum. Noonam Vishnurayam Nihanyamumiti Brahmyat Gadha Bhishanam Daityendram Samupadravanta Madruda Dorbhyam Pritubhyamamum.
So Tulsi, that second line, like you break it at the Samupadravantam Adrita. I think the way you are breaking it is you're saying Samupadravanta Madrita. You are breaking it that way. So if you want to break it at that ma. Samupadravantam Adrita.
Okay.
Viro Nirgalitotha, and then put a comma. Khadga Phalakau Grinnan Vichitra Shraman, put a plus, Vyabrinvan. So Nirgalitota, comma, Khadga Phalakau, Grihnan Vichitra Shraman, Vyabrinvan, comma, Punarapapata Bhuvana Grasodhyatam Twamaho. Viro Nirgalitotha Khadgaphalakau Grinnan Vichitra Shraman Vyabrinvan Punarapapata Bhuvana Grasodhyatam Twamaho.
Viro Nirgalitota Kadgapalakau Grinnan Vichitra Shraman Vyavrinvan Punarapapata Bhuvana Grasodhyatam Twamaho. Viro Nirgalitotha Kadgapalakau Grinnan Vichitra Shraman Vyavrinvan Punarapapata Bhuvana Grasodhyatam Twamaho.
Third line, Khadga Phalakau. And the word, say that word.
Kadgapalakau.
Yeah.
Viro Nirgalitotha Kadgapalakau Grinnan Vichitra Shraman Vyavrinvan Punarapapata Bhuvana Grasodhyatam Twamaho.
Viro Nirgalitota Khatkafalakau Grihnan Vichitra Shraman Vyavrunvan Punarapa Pata Bhuvana Grasodhyatam Twamaho. Viro Nirgalitota Khatkafalakau Grihnan Vichitra Shraman Vyavrunvan Punarapa Pata Bhuvana Grasodhyatam Twamaho.
Stanza 6. Bhramyantam ditijadhamam punarapi prodgrihya durbhyam javate dware toru yuge nipatya nakharan vyutkhaya vaksho bhuvi nirbindhan nadi garbha nirbaragala draktambu baddhotsavam payam payamudairayo bahujagat samhari simharavan. So Hiranyakashipu then initially thinks that because he's escaping, he's getting more confident, right? Thinking that the Lord is afraid of him and then he's able to fight. And then he starts doing all kinds of antics, right? So whether he's running on the ground or he's trying to jump through the air, he's trying to do all of those antics. So eventually the Lord then grabs him and then grabs him with both his hands. And then if you look at the varam that Hiranyakashipu had asked for, so he had said that he should not be killed by a man or by an animal. So that we already saw earlier. Na mrigatmakam, na manujakaram was the description of it. Second thing, he said that none of your creation can kill me. So of course, Narasimha is not a creation of Brahma. So that also was getting checked. Then he said, I should not be killed inside, nor I should be killed outside. So then the Lord takes him to the steps or the divider, right, on the vasal, which is neither inside nor outside. Then his other thing was, I should not be touching the ground, or I should not touch the earth, nor should I be touching, or should I be flying. So he was not touching the earth because the Lord had put him on his lap. So he was not touching the earth. At the same time, he was not flying in the air either. He was resting on the Lord's lap, which was touching the earth, right? And then the last one he had asked was, I should not be killed by a weapon or something which is neither living nor non-living, right? Kind of a weapon. So another than the nail comes into context here because and you can maybe whoever is who is very good in biology can maybe articulate better than I can, but looks like there are some portions of the nail which are dead cells at the very edge. So but then so it is considered like a non-living thing, but the nail itself is considered a living thing because if you cut your nail, the nail grows again. So there is some definition like that. So because so that was why the nail was used as a weapon. And then he said neither in the day nor at night. So he was kind of it happened in the middle, right, in the Sandhya Vele. So anyway, all of this, so he's then put in there, and eventually Hiranyakashipu is then his Badam happens there. So that's what is happening in is this. And when that happens, also at the very end, he says Simharavan. So the noise or the roar that the Lord is actually giving at the very end, it is shaking up the entire universe. So the entire universe is shaken up because of the noise that's coming out. So Brahmyantam Diti Jadamam, comma, Punarapi Prodgrihya Dorbhyam Javat, comma. Next word you say it together. Dware Thoru Yuge. Say that word together. Dware Thoru Yuge Nipatya, comma, Nakaran Vyutkaya Vaksho Bhuvi. Bhamyantam Diti Jadhamam Punarapi Prodgrihya Dorbhyam Javate Dware Thoru Yuge Nipatya Nakaran Vyutkaya Vaksho Bhuvi.
Brahmyantam dhiti jadamam punarapi progrihya dorbhyam javat dvare thoru yuge nipatya nakaran yutkaya vaksho bhuvi. Brahmyantam dhiti jadamam punarapi progrihya dorbhyam javat dvare thoru yuge nipatya nakaran yutkaya vaksho bhuvi.
Brahmyantam ditijadamam punarapi prodguhya dopyam javat dvare thoru yuge nipatya nakaran vyutkaya vaksho bhuvi.
And Tulsi, the comma is after Nikaran, Nipatya, comma, and then Nakaran. Okay.
Brahmyantam ditijadamam punarapi prodguhya dopyam javat dvare thoru yuge nipatya nakaran vyutkaya vaksho bhuvi.
Nirbhindhanadi. So that word, up to that, it's one word. Nirbhindhanadi Garbha Nirbhara Galat Raktambu. If you want to break it, you can break it as Galat Raktambu, or you can say it together Galat Raktambu Dra, right? That you can say it together Galat Raktambu Badhotsavam. So that whole line is together, and then a comma at the very end. Badhotsavam Payam Mudairayo, comma, Bahu Jagat Samhari Simharavan. Nirbhindannadhigarbha nirbharagala draktambu badhotsavam Payam Mudairayo Bahu Jagat Samhari Simharavan.
Nirbhindannadhigarbha nirbharagala draktambu badhotsavam Payam mudhairayo bahujagat samhari simharavan. Nirbhindannadhigarbha nirbharagala draktambu badhotsavam Payam mudhairayo bahujagat samhari simharavan.
Nirbhindannadi garpa nirpara galatraktambu battotsavam payam mudairayo bahu jagat samhari simharavan. Nirbhindannadi garpa nirpara galatraktambu battotsavam payam mudairayo bahu jagat samhari simharavan.
Okay, so we'll switch halfway through. I think the people I wanted today are not in the class, so we'll give others. So we rather you can be a student, and Meera, can you be a student?
Yep.
Okay. Stanza 7. Tyaktva tam hatamashu raktalahari siktonnamad pratyutpatya samastadaitya patalim chakadhyamane tvahi bhramyad bhumi vikampitam bhudikulam vyalola shailotkaram protsarpat khacharam charamaho dustam avastam dhadau. So once Hiranyakashipu was, once the Lord had gotten rid of Hiranyakashipu, the next is all the Asuras also who were there, right? So even they were also, they also were destroyed. So there is in the Narasimha, I think Ashtakam, I think there is one this thing like one poem like that called Narasimha Ashtakam, where it actually describes in very detail. It's eight Ashtakam means eight stanzas, right, of what actually happens and how Narasimha then once Hiranyakashipu is then killed, then he jumps out, right, and then he goes and attacks. So, but the Bhartri part is just saying it very in a simple one word. He's saying once Hiranyakashipu is killed, then you quickly then get out, right? You jump out and then you get rid of all the asuras who are there as well. So he says samasta daitya patalim, the entire army of asuras who are there, they are also eradicated. So when this happens, right, and so like we see in films and movies, right, sometimes they say that the waters are turbulent, the trees are shaking, the wind is howling and all that. So similarly they're saying here the same thing they're saying, right? So where they're saying that the ocean started rising up and the mountains started shaking and there was heavy wind blowing everywhere. Essentially there was entire chaos are taken over the entire universe because of all the things that were actually happening there and all the sound, the noise that the Narasimha was doing. So the entire world and the universe started shaking. So tyaktva tam hatamashu, comma, rakta lahari siktonna madvarshmani. So that word we'll have to say it together. Siktonna madvarshmani, comma, pratyutpatya samasta daitya patalim, comma, chakadhyamane twayi. त्यक्त्वा तं हतमाशु रक्तलहरी सिक्तोन्नमद्वर्ष्मणि प्रत्युत्पत्य समस्तदैत्यपटलीं चाखाद्यमाने त्वयि.
त्यक्त्वा तं हतमाशु रक्तलहरी सिक्तोन्नमद्वर्ष्मणि प्रत्युत्पत्य समस्तदैत्यपटलीं चाख्यादमाने त्वयि. चाखाद्यमाने त्वयि. त्यक्त्वा तं हतमाशु रक्तलहरी सिक्तोन्नमद्वर्ष्मणि प्रत्युत्पत्य समस्तदैत्यपटलीं चाखाद्यमाने त्वयि.
त्यक्त्वा तं हतमाशु रक्तलहरिसिक्तोन्नमद्वर्ष्मणि प्रत्युत्पत्य समस्तदैत्यपटलीं चाखाद्यमाने त्वयि.
Amir, on the second line, pratyutpatya.
Okay.
Yeah, and then last word, chakhadhyamane.
Chakhadhyamane त्वयि.
Yeah.
त्यक्त्वा तं हतमाशु रक्तलहरिसिक्तोन्नमद्वर्ष्मणि.
Oh, sorry, andratla madala madvarshmani. It becomes a id, madvarshmani.
रक्तलहरिसिक्तोन्नमद्वर्ष्मणि प्रत्युत्पत्य समस्तदैत्यपटलीं चाखाद्यमाने त्वयि.
भ्राम्यत् भूमि विकम्पितां भुदि कुलं, comma, व्यालोल शैलोत्करं, comma, प्रोत्सर्पत् खचरं characharam aho, comma. Then there's a duhu, right? So put a is there. Dus stam. So there's a is and then another stam, another is coming there. So you should be able to say two is there. Dustam avastam dhadau. You can break it at that ma. Dustam avastam dhadau.
Rajesh ji, and the first line, the first line first initial comma solunga.
And the after vikampitam bhudi kulam and then comma.
Thank you.
Brahmyad bhumi vikampitam.
Brahmyad bhumi vikampitam bhudi kulam vyalola shailotkaram protsarpat khacharam characharam aho Dustamavastam dhadau.
भ्राम्यद्भूमि विकम्पिता बुधिकुलं व्यालोलशैलोत्करं प्रोत्सर्पत्खचरं चराचरमहो दुस्तामवस्थां दधौ भ्राम्यद्भूमि विकम्पिता बुधिकुलं व्यालोलशैलोत्करं प्रोत्सर्पत्खचरं चराचरमहो दुस्तामवस्थां दधौ
भ्राम्यद्भूमिविकम्पितां बुधिकुलं व्यालोलशलिलोकरं
Shailotkaram.
व्यालोलशैलोत्करं प्रोत्सर्पत्कचरं चराचरमहो दुस्तां वस्तां ददौ
Dustam avastam dhadau.
दुस्ताम् अवस्थां ददौ
Yeah.
भ्राम्यद्भूमिविकम्पितां बुधिकुलं व्यालोलशैलोत्करं प्रोत्सर्पत्कचरं चराचरमहो दुस्ताम् अवस्थां ददौ
Stanza 8. Tavan mamsavapakarala vapusham ghorantramaladharam tvamadhye sabhamidhakopamushitam durvara gurvaravam abhyetum nashashaka kopi bhuvane dure sthita bhiravah sarve sharva virincha vasava mukha pratyekamastoshata. So already the form was a very dangerous or a scary or a frightening form. Now that form, after Hiranyakashipu was killed, now there's also blood, so it becomes even more ghoram. So looking, and then the Lord, after he had defeated all the asuras, he wasn't sitting on the throne of Hiranyakashipu. So when he's sitting on the throne with his ghoram form and the anger, he's still showing that anger, and the noise, right, the roar that is still coming out was so scary that nobody, kopi bhuvane, kahapi, the entire world, nobody dared to go near him. And even they say that they said all the demigods, the Indra, and here says Sharva means Shiva, Dirincha means Brahma, and Sarve. So all the gods, including Shiva, including Brahma, including Indra, and all the devas, everybody comes, but everybody is just praying to the form of Narasimha, but nobody dares to go near. And they're all worried now is how do you now bring the temperature of the room down, right? Like they say, how do you now calm this person down? And even Mahalakshmi in says in Bhagavatam, not here in Narayaneeyam, but even Mahalakshmi says, I have not seen such a form of the Lord. I have not seen him in this form, right? So some people say that, and I don't get angry, but when I get angry, I'm really angry. Then nobody come and talk to me, right? And the Mari is taking such an anger right now, right? People are like, I have not seen him being this angry, and nobody dares to go near. And everybody is just saying, what? Everybody starts praising him. Pratyekam astoshata. Everybody individually is like praising him, hoping that that is going to calm him down. So tavan mamsa vapa karala vapusham, comma, ghorantra maladharam, comma, tvam madhye sabham idha. You can break it at that ma if you want. Sabham idha kopa mushitam, comma, durvara gurvaravam. Tavan mamsa vapakarala vapusham ghorantramaladharam tvam madhye sabhamidha kopa mushitam durvara gurvaravam.
तावन्मांसवपाकरालवपुषं घोरान्द्रमालाधरं त्वामध्ये सभमिद्धकोपमुषितं दुर्वारगुर्वारवं तावन्मांसवपाकरालवपुषं घोरान्द्रमालाधरं त्वामध्ये सभमिद्ध कोपमुषितं दुर्वारगुर्वारवम्
तावन्मांसवपाकरालवपुषं घोरान्त्रमालाधरं त्वं मध्ये शबम् इद्दकोपमुषितं दुर्वारगुर्वारवम्.
Mira, second line, twam. Okay, the first word of the second line is twam.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
तावन्मांसवपाकरालवपुषं घोरान्त्रमालाधरं त्वं मध्ये शबम् इद्दकोपमुषितं दुर्वारगुर्वारवम्.
Abhetum na shashaka kopi bhuvane, comma, dure stita bhiravaha. Dure stita, they were all standing at a distance. That's what it means. Bhiravaha, comma, sarve sharva. First is a sa, next is a sha. And it will make a big difference. Sarve means everybody. Sharva means Shiva. So sarve sharva virincha vasava mukhaha, comma. Next word you can break at that ma if you want. Pratyekam astoshata if you want, or you can say it together. Pratyekam astoshata. Abhetum na shashaka kopi bhuvane dure sthita bhiravah sarve sharva virincha vasava mukhaha pratyekam astoshata.
आभ्येतुं न शशाक कोऽपि भुवने धूरे स्थिता भीरवः सर्वे शर्वविरिञ्जवासवमुखाः प्रत्येकमस्तोषत आभ्येतुं न शशाक कोऽपि भुवने धूरे स्थिता भीरवः सर्वे शर्वविरिञ्जवासवमुखाः प्रत्येकमस्तोषत
अभ्येतुं न शशाक कोऽपि भुवने दूरे स्थिता भीरवः सर्वविरिञ्च वशावमुखः
विरिञ्च वासवमुखाः
सर्वविरिञ्च वासवमुखाः प्रत्येकम् अष्टोशत अभ्येतुं न शशाक कोऽपि भुवने दूरे स्थिता भीरवः सर्वे सर्वविरिञ्च वासवमुखः प्रत्येकम् अष्टोशत.
Sorry, Mira, the last line mukhaha, there is a R coming at the end. Mukhaha. Yeah. Stanza 9. Bhuyopyakshatarosha bhavati brahmakyaya balake prahlade padayor namatya bhabaye karunya bhara kulaha shantastvam karamasya murni samadhaha stotrairathudghayatah tasya kamadiyopi te nitavaram lokaya chanugraham. So when everybody is standing and worried and afraid, right, at that time Brahma then says, the person who is the most devoted to the Lord is the best person who can actually come forward right now and then calm him down. So Brahma then goes and approaches Prahlada and says, that Narsimha is right now in a very anger and a ghora mood right now, right, because of everything your father has done, and so you are the one who has to go and appease the Lord. So Prahlada then goes forward and then he prostrates, he does namaskaram, and then he folds his hands. So at that time, then Bhatripat says, you who is karunya bhara kulaha, you are a person who is always filled with compassion, right? And then shantaha, you then calmed you down. So Prahlada going and bowing to you calmed you down, and then all of that anger and all of that ghora went away, and then out of compassion, karam means hand, murdni means head. So with your hand you touched, so Narasimha touched Prahlada's head with your hand, and when Narasimha touched Prahlada's head, then automatically Prahlada, who was just a child, who was just devoted, but he didn't have the supreme knowledge, so the moment the Lord touched him, just like what happened to Dhruva, right? So Prahlada then immediately got the entire knowledge, and then he sang praises of the Lord, and then the Lord also blessed him gave him a boon, which is Lokaya Chanugraham, that he is going to become a big king, which is going to benefit the entire world, right? In terms of how you need to be in terms of devotion. After the Lord blesses him, and then his anger comes down, and then he's calmed here when Prahlada comes. So that's what you must have seen some images where he's sitting, Prahlada sitting on Narasimha's lap, right? So bhuyo pyakshata. So that word is together. Bhuyo pyakshata. Rosha dhamni bhavati, comma. Brahmaknyaya balake prahlade. So put a plus there, and then put a comma after prahlade, comma. Padayor namatya phabaye. Another comma there. Karunya bharakulaha. भूयोऽप्यक्षतरोषधाम्नि भवति ब्रह्माज्ञया बालके प्रह्लादे पदयोर्नमत्यभवये कारुण्यभाराकुलः
भूयोऽप्यक्षदरोषधाम्नि भवति ब्रह्माज्ञया बालके प्रह्लादे पदयोर्नमत्यपभये कारुण्यभाराकुलः भूयोऽप्यक्षदरोषधाम्नि भवति ब्रह्माज्ञया बालके प्रह्लादे पदयोर्नमत्यपभये कारुण्यभाराकुलः
भूयोऽप्यक्षतरो सदाम्नि भवति ब्रह्माज्ञया बालके प्रह्लादे पदयोर्नमत्य पभये कारुण्यभारकुलः.
Meera, the balake and then prahlade, try to say it together. So brahmaknyaya balake prahlade.
Okay. भूयोऽप्यक्षतरो सदाम्नि भवति ब्रह्मज्ञया बालके प्रह्लादे पदयोर्नमत्य पभये कारुण्यभारकुलः.
And the prahlade, right? It's not a full ha there, it's a ich, right? So it's not prahalade, it won't come, it's prahlade. Okay. Shantastvam karamasya murdni samadhaha, comma. Next word you can try to break at that ra if you want. So stotrair athodgayata, or you can say it together. Stotrair athodgayata ha. Put a visarga at the end of that line and the comma. Stotrair athodgayata, comma. Next line, if you have a is, remove that is out. Tasya kamadhi yopi tenita varam, comma. Lokaya chanugraham. Shantastvam karamasya murdni samadhaha stotrairathotghayataha tasya kamadiyopi te nitavaram lokaya chanugraham.
शान्तस्त्वं करमस्य मूर्ध्नि समदाः स्तोत्रैरधोद्गायतः तस्या कामधियोऽपि ते निधवरं लोकाय चानुग्रहम्. शान्तस्त्वं करमस्य मूर्ध्नि समदाः स्तोत्रैरधोद्गायतः तस्या कामधियोऽपि ते निधवरं लोकाय चानुग्रहम्.
शान्तस्त्वं करमस्य मूर्धिनि समदाः स्तोत्रैरतोद्गायतः तस्या कामधियोऽपि ते निधवरं लोकाय. शान्तस्त्वं करमस्य मूर्धिनि समदाः स्तोत्रैरतोद्गायतः तस्या कामधियोऽपि ते नितवरं लोकाय चानुग्रहम्.
Last line, last answer. एवं नाटित रौद्र चेष्टित विभो श्रीतापनीयाभिदश्रुत्यन्त स्फुट गीत सर्वमहिमन् अत्यंत शुद्धाकृते तत्तादृङ्निखिलोत्तरं पुनरहो कस्त्वां परो लङ्घयेत् प्रह्लाद प्रिय हे मरुत्पुरपते सर्वामयात् पाहि माम्. See, Bhattaripat says that there is this Upanishad called as, Narasimha Tapaniya Upanishad or something like that. And in that, it is said that you, the ultimate, since you are the ultimate Brahman, you cannot get angry. The Lord cannot get angry, right? That cannot be part of the one of the attributes of the Lord. So that's why he says, not that you enacted a drama here where you showed that ferocious form of yours and that anger form of yours to take appropriate actions. But inherently, you are not an angry person. That's where it says you are, all the hymns which are singing your excellences, which are singing about you, they talk about you as somebody who's Shuddha, who's pure, who's free from all angers and free from all of these things. And you are, and then so you just acted on this to show people so that Narasimha, Hiranyakashipu had to be gotten rid of, and to scare them, you kind of put up the show of being angry. And here he says again at the very end, you are Uttaram, you are above everybody else. And who else is there who is better than you? Oh, that Lord, Prahlada Priya, O Lord, who is beloved of Prahlada, Marut Purapate, O Lord of Guruvayur, Sarva Mayat Pahima. Please eradicate me of all the diseases and the problems I have. So, Evam Natita Raudra Cheshtita Vibho, comma, Shritapaniya Bhida. So that word comes together. Shritapaniya Bhida, and then put a plus. Shrutyanta Sputa Gita Sarva Mahiman. So if you have double na there, first put a in Mahiman, comma. The next word starts with a a. Atyanta Shuddha Krite. Evam Natita Raudra Cheshtita Vibho Shritapaniya Bhida Shrutyanta Sputa Gita Sarva Mahiman Atyanta Shuddha Krite.
एवं नाडिद रौद्र चेष्टिद विभो श्रीतापनीयाभिद श्रुत्यन्द स्फुटगीत सर्वमहिमन् अत्यन्त शुद्धाकृते एवं नाडिद रौद्र चेष्टिद विभो श्रीतापनीयाभिद श्रुत्यन्द स्फुटगीत सर्वमहिमन् अत्यन्त शुद्धाकृते
एवं नातीत रौद्र चेष्टित विभो श्रीतापनीयाभिद श्रुत्यन्त स्फुट गीत सर्वमहिमन् अत्यन्त शुद्धाकृते एवं नातीत रौद्र चेष्टित विभो श्रीतापनीयाभिद श्रुत्यन्त स्फुट गीत सर्वमहिमन् अत्यन्त शुद्धाकृते.
Tattadhrang ing sound, Tattadhrang Nikhilotharam Punaraho, comma, Kastwam Paro Langhayet, comma, Prahlada Priya, comma, He Marut Purapate, comma, Sarva Mayat Pahima. So that last line, you can just put a marking there to say it 3 times. So I'll say it 3 times so you get how to say it, but you can just say it 1 time. That's okay now. But normally when you say this, chant this chapter, we'll say it 3 times. Tattadhrang Nikilotharam Punaraho Kastwam Paro Langhayete Prahlada Priya He Marut Purapate Sarva Mayat Pahimam Prahlada Priya He Marut Purapate Sarva Mayat Pahimam Prahlada Priya He Marut Purapate Sarva Mayat Pahimam.
So second time I say, I'll say 3 times.
Okay, your choice. Yeah.
Tattva dring nighilotaram punaraho kastvam paro langhayet prahlada priya he marut purapade sarvamayat pahi mam.
Rather, the third line, first word, tattadrung. I heard a ik sound. There's no ik sound. Tattadrung.
Tattadring nikhilotaram punaraho kastvam paro langhayet prahlada priya he marut purapade sarvamayat pahi mam. Prahlada priya he marut purapade sarvamayat pahi mam. Prahlada priya he marut purapade sarvamayat pahi mam.
Tattadrin nikilotaram punaraho kashtvam paro langayet prahlada priya he marut purapate sarvamayat pahi mam.
Here again, the praha, you're saying the full ha there. Prah.
Prahlada.
Yeah.
Tattadrin nikilotaram punaraho kashtvam paro langayet prahlada priya he marut purapate sarvamayat pahi mam.
Shri Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. That completes 25. Very good job. I think you all did really well on that. I just want maybe just one stanza or maybe 2 stanzas of the next chapter we'll do. Okay, and then we'll stop. So this is a relatively small, easy chapter relative to 25. So,
Rajesh, you
You
mentioned
said
you'll hold on to a comment.
Chulunga.
You said you would hold on to a comment.
Yeah, I think that comment was more about the anger part, right? Because I was saying that a few times in between that he was roaring and he was exhibiting that anger. And but it was going to come at the very end that anger was just to put up the show, rather than, because the Lord himself cannot be an angry person, right? He's supposed to be a shantam person, right? That's when the moment when, and again, for devotees should never get worried about it, right? I think that's the Santana Dharma. The thing is, of course, when we are all growing up, they scare saying, that you do something, the God will come and punish you. The punishment is all that is your karma. You do it, you're going to get the result of it. The God itself doesn't come and punish normal people like that, right? So he's supposed to be someone who is easily accessible, someone who's not angry, and even Narasimha should not be considered as an angry person. He was only putting up that show as an angry person, right? That was the main thing there, which is why even Bhattacharya Bhatt ended it that way at the very last stanza. So the next one, Gajendra Moksham, is also another, like we saw the Ajamilo and we saw and all that, right? It's another chapter of devotion or devotee, right? So it's a nice story also, and it's a very nice chapter also.
Rajesh, quick question. Enna chapter idu number?
26.
26. Okay, now print out vechilla.
Okay, no problem. As Rupa, you can do that. Just we're going to only 1 or 2 stanzas maximum, so no problem. So stanza 1. Indradyumna Pandya Khandadhirajah Tvad Bhaktatma Chandanadrau Kadachite Tvat Sevayam Magnadhira Luluke Naiva Gastyam Praptamatitya Kamam. So in the land of Pandyas, which means the southern part of India, right? So in that land, there used to be a king called Indradyumna. So that Indradyumna king was Tvad Bhaktatma. He was a very firm devotee of the Lord, even when he was a king. And eventually when he becomes old, right, he then gives up his kingdom. And like they all used to do in that time, he gave up everything and then he went to the forest. So he was then in this mountain called Malaya mountain, where he had given up everything and he was meditating, and he continued the devotion to the Lord. And I think this Malaya mountain, if you go and say, where is that? That means the Podigai, the mountain in South India, right, in Tamil Nadu, in that mountains where he was sitting and meditating, or he had a cottage there. And he was Tat Sevayam, he was always engaged in your worship. That once when sage Agastya came to meet him, that he did not realize that Agastya had come. So when all these big sages come, they expect you to kind of give up what you're doing and expect some level of hospitality of welcoming them and everything. But because he didn't even realize that Agastya had come, and then he he didn't even notice it, and he continued to do what he was doing. So Indradhyumnaha is there, put a if. Indradhyumnah Pandya Khandadhi Rajaha. Khandadi Rajaha, put a visarga at the very end, comma. Next line, you can remove the is out. Tvad Bhaktatma Chandanadrau Kadachit. Tvat Sevayam Magna Dhiralu Loke, comma. Naivagastyam Praptam Atithya Kamam. If you want to break it, you can break it at that ma. Praptam Atithya Kamam. Indradyumnah Pandya Khandadhirajah Tvat-bhaktatma Chandanadrau Kadachite Tvat-sevayam Magnadhira Luloke Naivagastyam Praptamatitya Kamam.
इन्द्रद्युम्नः पाण्ड्यखण्डादिराजः त्वद्भक्तात्मा चन्दनाद्रौ कदाचित् त्वत्सेवायां मग्नधीरालुलोके नैवागस्त्यं प्राप्तमादित्यकामम् इन्द्रद्युम्नः पाण्ड्यखण्डादिराजः त्वद्भक्तात्मा चन्दनाद्रौ कदाचित् त्वत्सेवायां मग्नधीरालुलोके नैवागस्त्यं प्राप्तमादित्यकामम्
इन्द्रद्युम्नः पाण्ड्यखण्डाधिराजः त्वद्भक्तानां चन्दनाद्रौ कदाचित् त्वत्सेवायां मग्निधीरालुलोके नैवागस्त्यं प्राप्तमातिथ्य कामम्.
Rupa, the second line, Tvad-bhaktatma.
त्वद्भक्तात्मा. इन्द्रद्युम्नः पाण्ड्यखण्डाधिराजः त्वद्भक्तात्मा चन्दनाद्रौ कदाचित् त्वत्सेवायां मग्निधीरालुलोके नैवागस्त्यं प्राप्तमातिथ्यकामम्.
One more stanza and we'll stop today. Kumbhodbhude sambhrita krodha bharah stabdhatma tvam hasti bhuyam bhajeti shraptva tainam pratyagatsopi lebhe hastindratvam tvatsmriti vyakti dhanyam. So Kumbhodbhudi. So Agastya, like like the Kauravas, right? So he is also supposed to have been born from a pot, a kumbha. That was how he was born. So that's why Kumbhodbhuti means one who came out of a pot. So he's referring to Agastya here. So of course Agastya then got very angry that Indradyumna did not even notice him coming and ignored him completely. So he says, your behavior is like that of an elephant. So if you all have seen elephant, it's just standing. It doesn't care where anybody is coming. It's just chewing on what it is doing and ignores anybody else who's coming. And later on, in one of the chapters, it comes 48 when Krishna's avataram comes. Another thing for that also is they say like a maram, like a tree, right? But here the curses of it becomes an elephant here. But he says you are also very proud that you also ignored me. So he says because of that, in your next janmam, you're going to be born as an elephant, right? That is a curse that I'm actually giving you. So then Indradyumna then apologized and everything, and he said the only request he had was that Tvat Smriti, so that the devotion that he has towards the Lord in this Janmam should carry over to the next birth. That was the only request he had. He said, I'm totally fine, I made a mistake, but at least the devotion I have towards the Lord needs to carry over. So in the next birth, he is then born as a Hasti, he's born as an elephant, but with the benefit of retaining your memory. He still remembered, right, all the prayers and everything he had done to you, and then he remembers that when he's born as an elephant in the next birth. Kumbhot bhutihi is there, put a is, bhutis sambhrita krodha bharaha, comma, stabdhatma tvam hasti bhuyam bhajeti shaptva thainam pratyagaat sopi lebhe, comma, hastindratvam tvat smriti vyakti dhanyam. कुंभोद्भूते संभृत क्रोध भारः स्तब्धात्मा त्वं हस्ति भूयं भजेति शप्त्वा तैनं प्रत्यगात्सोऽपि लेभे हस्तीन्द्रत्वं त्वत्स्मृतिव्यक्तिधन्यम्.
कुम्भोद्भूतिः सम्भृतः क्रोधभारः स्तब्धात्मा त्वं हस्ति भूयं भजेति शप्त्वाधैनं प्रत्यगात् सोऽपि लेभे हस्तीन्द्रत्वं त्वत्स्मृतिव्यक्तिधन्यम्. कुम्भोद्भूतिः सम्भृतः क्रोधभारः स्तब्धात्मा त्वं हस्ति भूयं भजेति शप्त्वाधैनं प्रत्यगात् सोऽपि लेभे हस्तीन्द्रत्वं त्वत्स्मृतिव्यक्तिधन्यम्.
कुम्भोद्भूतिः संभृतः क्रोधभारः शब्दात्मा त्वं हस्ति भूयं भजेति शप्त्वाथैनं प्रत्यगासोऽपि लेभे हस्तीन्द्रत्वं त्वत्स्मृतिव्यक्तिधन्यम्.
Rupan, second line, stabdhatma, ib, there's a stabdhatma. Yeah.
स्तब्धात्मा. कुम्भोद्भूतिः संभृतः क्रोधभारः स्तब्धात्मा त्वं हस्ति भूयं भजेति शप्तास्थैनं प्रत्यगासोऽपि लेभे हस्तीन्द्रत्वं त्वत्स्मृतिव्यक्तिधन्यम्.
On the third line, first word, shaptvathainam.
Shaptvathainam.
Yeah, correct.
Thainam.
Yeah. Okay, we'll stop the class here. Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadebhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurupurushat atmakam brahmatattvam tattavad bhati sakshat guru pavanapure hanta bhagyam janaham. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि.